Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is our Arise News analyst, Emmanuel Efeni, the great Malawite. Good morning, Emmanuel.
Good morning, Ruben.
Another hero of
Good morning, hero. Ruben.
Not about another hero of June 12.
Good morning,
Heroes of
Rufai.
June 12.
Journalists.
I don't know about Emmanuel Efeni.
Hero.
But he used to write very strong feature stories.
He was hero of June 12 too now.
So on the features desk.
Yeah.
And it was very
King
good.
of features.
Happy Democracy Day to all of us and all Nigerians out there. Democracy Day, of course, we started the day with the speech, address of the president to all Nigerians. And he started that speech by saluting the heroes of democracy, at least the least, though not all inclusive, as it were. You can't mention everybody's name in a speech like that. Of course, he started by mentioning the name of MKO Abiola, the symbol of our democracy, the man who got the pan-Nigerian mandate in an election adjudged the best ever in Nigeria's history. Because after the dilly-dallying, the chili-charling of the military, of course, we call it the Maradonic moves of then self-styled military president, Ibrahim Babangida, there had to be an election. And June 12 was the day MKO Abiola of SDP and Bashir Tofa of the NRC, National Republican Convention, and of course the Social Democratic Party. I participated in that election, Ruben, and I remember because many Nigerians seem to have lost hope that there will be an election after the military banned politicians on ban and all that. But that day, even the electoral body, they were not having matter every day. I remember in my booth, somewhere in where they call AJ, figured that out in Lagos, right? There was no table when the electoral officials came. People brought table. They brought chairs. Today we must vote. And because of the countdown to that election, where MKO Abiola had a debate, presidential debate, with Bashir Tofa, I'm sure many Nigerians made up their mind that this is the man. Apart from his Hope program,
Hope 93.
Hope 93, his program there, Farewell to Poverty.
Yes, sir.
It moved Nigerians to the poll. And they voted for him massively across the country, including, like you rightly mentioned, he defeated Bashir Tofa in Kano. As at that day of the election, because before then Kano State had this foundation, they launched. MKO Abiola went there, gave them huge, long before the election. As at that day, Bashir Tofa had not redeemed his own pledge to Kano. MKO has since done that. MKO was known. You remember his donation to all universities, federal universities. So even the students, this is the man. And of course, yes.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yes.
You missed my point. I was saying that MKO Abiola, you said he was mentioned in this speech.
No, I said, no,
He was mentioned, just I said, in passing.
No, I'm not contradicting
I'm
not contradicting what you have said.
One paragraph.
I'm not contradicting what you said. That a paragraph should have been devoted to salute the heroism of MKO Abiola. I got that point very well, and I agree with you totally on that. We cannot not behave as if MKO Abiola just made a sacrifice and we're enjoying the democracy. Like the president said, he participated in the struggle and he's not a beneficiary of democracy. We must continue to salute the heroism of the man MKO Abiola. Any day we talk about democracy in this climb because he paid the ultimate price. He refused to give up that mandate. Of course, you mentioned the Ekpetedo declaration. He could have just moved elsewhere and start living his life. After all, he had the result.
People advised him to leave
Yes, but he refused because Nigerians gave him a mandate. And he was ready to die for that mandate. He was killed because of that mandate. So we salute MKO Abiola, the hero of our democracy. But on a day like this, of course, we look at the democracy we have. And the president, of course, in that speech, went down memory. Talking about the heroes of democracy, that list is not all inclusive. So we know there are names that were left out, either out of oversight. But I will mention one name, one woman.
Kudirat Abiola.
Yes. No, that's not the woman I want to mention.
Okay.
Kofowola Bokno, the first deputy governor to Tinubu.
Yeah, she was part of that struggle.
Yes, while Bola Ahmed Tinubu and others were in exile, Kofowola Bokno was here, marching with
Bokno Akerele.
Akerele. She was here, marching with Paenauro and others on the streets.
Ibrahim Adesoya.
She was there.
That list is too long.
No, wait. I deliberately mentioned this woman because
Dan Suleiman.
Dan Suleiman. I think he mentioned Dan Suleiman.
Ayobe.
Olisa Agbakoba.
He mentioned Olisa Agbakoba in the speech.
The list is too long.
Right? You know why I mentioned I had to
because of the fights between
because
both of them,
our own omission would have been deliberate.
Deliberate, yes.
Not that they forgot about her. She's a Lagos woman. She's here. She's still alive. She was the first deputy governor.
Stop shaking this table.
I'm not because no. Let's put things straight, right? When there was the first, when Alliance for Democracy had their primaries to elect their candidates, you know who won that? It wasn't Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Stop shaking table.
No, because they have omitted the name of this woman.
It's enough. Enough.
On account of contribution to the democratic struggle, they say give it to Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
We know.
On account of our conduct to the democratic struggle, make Kofowola Bokno the deputy. So why did that?
Okay, we are talking about the present now.
Yinka Odumake and his wife too.
Okay, Yinka Odumake.
Then Africa. As regards student activities in Africa.
Iwilade. His name is Iwilade.
Okay, but let's look at how the newspapers are reporting the Democracy Day speech by the president and all other activities relating to Democracy Day. Of course, the lead story of this day from the speech of the address of the president, I will never turn my back on you. Tinubu tells Nigerians on June 12th. Yes, he was mentioned by the president in his speech, recalls how he, others, risked their life for democracy. Says, despite complications, democracy remains the best form of governance. Promised to send bill on new minimum wage to National Assembly, declares new wage negotiated in good faith with labor. Well, the president's speech, but let's look at how other newspapers reporting this story. And I will just say a few words on the president's speech more. Now, the Punch newspaper, Democracy Day, Tinubu hails Abiola, others warns against anti-democratic forces. President vows to preserve democracy, appeases Nigerians over economic hardship. Now, the Daily Independent newspaper, as we reform economy, I won't turn my back on citizens. Tinubu, says he understands the economic difficulties Nigerians face. He's fine-tuning draft bill for minimum wage to National Assembly. I underline that word used there by the Daily Independent, fine-tuning, because you only fine-tune the figure to up or down, but it has to go up. Let's hope the president will surprise Labour there with some addition to whatever the committee has submitted. Now, 62.5 billion naira loan to execute Lagos Calabar Road, others. Now, the New Telegraph newspaper, June 12, remembering election that reshaped Nigeria. Of course, that election, the best ever in Nigeria's history, a pan-Nigerian mandate, of course, amongst other things. Why and how that election was cancelled by Babangida led military junta, well, it's another story altogether. We'll just leave that out of. This day, we are celebrating democracy. And of course, the journalists were part of that struggle. They shaped the struggle because without journalists reporting, and putting their lives on the line because the military boys were desperate and deadly. And they did kill some journalists in that process, right? Of course, I was a reporter with the Guardian newspaper when the Guardian newspaper was proscribed alongside the Concord newspaper and the Punch newspaper. In fact, Ruben, for your information, the morning after the proscription, a number of us gathered at the front of the Guardian to restate our how do I put it now? Our distaste for what has just happened. And the police came there and arrested us. A number of us were taken to Panti and detained for the whole day, released in the night on personal recognition, and were asked to be reporting to Panti every day. We did for about 2 weeks, right? Then in the last 2 years, before this democracy, of course, This Day newspaper was in the forefront. Prince Nduka Obagbena had to go into exile because the military were not comfortable. The Abacha government, they were not comfortable with how This Day was reporting, but we did not give up. But Prince Nduka Obagbena's life was clearly on the line. He had to leave the country. And many of us were here. We were on ground, right? I was deputy editor, later editor during that period, right, Ruben? And we had to...
Thank you for my information. As if I was not
No.
I was not part of the entire drama.
Yes.
I was there.
Yes, you were there. You were part
I
of
was
it.
at the Guardian when the company was shut down.
Cool. And of course, there's a book being put together by how the Guardian journalists survive disclosure right now. That book is being put together.
I was part of it.
Yes,
I was out of work for a whole year.
Yes.
94, 95.
Yes. But we had to move elsewhere. We just leave that story for another day. We'll leave that story for another day. New Telegraph newspaper remembering election that reshaped Nigeria. The leadership newspaper, Tinubu, Jonathan, others ignite hope for better Nigeria. 25 years after democracy. Then the Guardian newspaper is reporting. The Guardian, yes. Hope betrayed at 31. Talking about the hope MQ Abiola projected ahead of June 12, 1993, when he was elected by, when he was voted for by Nigerians across the country. That hope, Guardian is saying, betrayed. Citizens in dire straits, still in search of democratic ideals, dividends. Yes, the president talked about ensuring that this democracy is not threatened, ensuring that democracy provides the best results. Yes, he said, democracy remains the best form of government. The best form of government must produce the best form of livelihood for the people. Otherwise, it will be a tragedy that democracy is not providing for the people hard life, tough life they did not bargain for. And the president knows this. He admitted the hardship Nigerians are facing, and well, talking about the minimum wage, he had to chip in that he will be sending a bill to the National Assembly on the new minimum wage. Will it be the 62, or will the president adjust something? But the president also mentioned that after all, in the next 5 years, which is what the law says, there will be another negotiation for a new minimum wage. But he said in the next 5 years or less. Yes, underline that, or less. So whatever is agreed today, passed into law, the president knows that if it is this 62, it will certainly not deal with the hardship in the land for the average Nigerian, especially those who are in that bracket. That you don't have to wait for another 5 years to take another look. if you are sticking to 62 or somewhere in that region. Now, the Nigerian Tribune newspaper has, I will leave the lead story because it's still the same story about democracy and democracy. Nigerian Tribune. Over 300 companies shut down. 380,000 jobs lost within 2 months. Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, they are the one putting these figures out. Reps, CSOs, others lament impact of recent tariff hike. The recent tariff hike and other policies and measures of this government is causing problem in the economy, in the real productive sector, where 300 companies shut down in the last 2 months and 380 Nigerians have lost their jobs. So it's a food for thought for the president as we celebrate democracy. Democracy must deliver dividends, and those dividends must be good fruits that the people will be happy about. Now, the Vanguard newspaper, of course, June 12, current challenges being used to impair democracy. I don't think so. The current challenges are real. The people are feeling it. They know it, and they are not happy about it. Daily Sun newspaper, Democracy Day. Jonathan, Tinubu caution. Democracy Day. Jonathan cautions Tinubu Shetima, yes. Advises them to reduce politics of ethnicity, religion. We must recommit to values of inclusivity, accountability, transparency, President. Now, of course, yesterday, as part of the Democracy Day celebration, there was that Democracy Day lecture. Of course, the highlight was not necessarily the person who delivered the lecture, former Katsina State Governor and a former House of Rep Speaker. But former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan made a profound comment yesterday talking about what democracy should do and what democracy should not do. Inclusivity. And he said Nigerians and the National Assembly should try and fashion out a democracy that will serve all, a situation where a party scores 30% of the votes and behave as if it is winner takes all. It's not good for democracy because over 70% or thereabout did not vote for the party in power. What about those who are in that those political platforms? There has to be a way to bring them, to include them in governance. The advice of former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan and Nigerian politicians must emphasize religion and ethnicity. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan also admonished politicians yesterday. I'm sure that speech will continue to reverberate in the days ahead. The speech by Goodluck Ebele Jonathan yesterday. Now, the Daily Trust newspaper, Tinubu may reshuffle cabinet, create new ministry, some ministers to go. I will send bill of minimum wage to National Assembly soon, President. Yes, clearly, 1 year after is a good time to look at the cabinet that was described as bloated when that cabinet was put together. Some ministers have just slept through 1 year. And those who are not performing, yes, the president said it, that those who don't perform when he was swearing in will go. And so it's not surprising to read that cabinet reshuffle is in the offing, and we'll look forward to that. Now, outside Nigeria, the Daily Nation newspaper, Daily Nation of Kenya, Ruto Uhuru seek to end Pex row. Climb down. President William Ruto yesterday called on his predecessor Uhuru Kenyatta in a bid to stop the escalation of a standoff over the former president's budgetary allocation, official office, staffing, and security requirements. After the phone call, head of public service Felix Koshke was directed to set up a team to address the grievances. Of course, former President Uhuru Kenyatta and the President of Kenya, President Ruto, there are differences to be ironed out. Now, the Business Day newspaper of South Africa, MK election challenge puts democracy to test. Party wants apex courts to order president to call another election. MK, the party of Jacob Zuma, challenging the election in South Africa, and they have gone to the Supreme Court in South Africa, and they want that election to be cancelled. Well, the democratic process makes room for challenge. Now, the UK newspapers quickly. The Daily Telegraph, Sunak promises 17 billion in tax cuts, while the Times of London is reporting, Prime Minister, a vote for reform puts Labour into number 10. Sunak issues warning at Tory manifesto launch. Yes, the Conservative Party in the UK launched their manifesto for the general elections coming up. Now, the Guardian newspaper, Tories implausible 17 billion pounds tax giveaway condemned. Labour accuses Sunak of cosplaying Liz Truss in Conservative manifesto. Now, the Washington Post, before I yield the floor, the Washington Post, Hunter Biden found guilty in federal gun trial. Case exposed dark periods in his past. President's son grateful for family support. Ruben, Bimbai, and Rufai.
Well, very quickly, two things. Hunter Biden, first time that the son of a serving president in the United States will be, convicted, indicted, and he faces 25 years in prison. This is coming shortly after the conviction of Donald Trump. But the response has been different. President Biden says he's not going to pardon his son. He's not going to intervene in any way, but he has shown love to his son. He was there in the court with his mom and also his wife. So he faces 25 years in prison, but nobody expects that he will be given 25 years. And it's about lying, about his cocaine addiction. It's called the cocaine gun trial. He bought a gun in the state of Delaware, where you are required to declare whether you are under the influence or not, and you are not expected to have a gun, to have, arms when you are taking, prohibited drugs. As for UK, Rishi Sunak is thinking that he can jumpstart, the Conservatives' campaign, as I said yesterday. Now he has come with a 17 billion tax cut package as the parties are announcing their manifestos. But would that help the Conservatives? I don't think so. Even within the Conservative Party, the right wing is saying that, Rishi Sunak doesn't know what he's doing. The opposition says he's trying to imitate Liz Truss. And he says this is the party of Margaret Thatcher, that believes in, spending money wisely. But whether that will help him or not, we will see on July 4. Now, finally, we go back to the same story of June 12. Now, I think if we want to be mentioning names, we will not live here today.
I agree with you.
As Rufai pointed out, we didn't even mention Radio Kudirat.
Yes, so
I mentioned Dele Momodu.
Yes.
Radio Kudirat had Kayode Fayemi, had Dele Momodu, and a lot of others who went into exile, and they were broadcasting from abroad, fighting the military government.
We didn't mention Professor Wole Soyinka.
We had Wole Soyinka's Nalicon.
Yeah.
Professor Wole Soyinka led Nalicon. Professor Patutome led concerned professionals.
Yeah. Obviously.
And all the people in concerned professionals led by Professor Patutome all fought for this democracy. But to summarize, I think we can recommend a number of books. I mentioned Joe Igbokwe, Heroes of Democracy. There was Professor Omar Omorui's The Tale of June 12. There was Frank Kokori, The Struggle for June 12. There was Abimbola Adelakun, also on the June 12 struggle. And there was also a book by Abraham Oshoko on June 12, the tale of the struggle and all of that. I mean, quite a long bibliography.
There was this book also written by Aboderi.
Who?
Aboderi.
Aboderi. I just mentioned it.
Okay.
I just mentioned it.
Okay, yeah.
I said Abimbola Aboderi.
Okay, Abimbola, yes, that's the first thing.
I just mentioned this book.
I have it.
So there are books on the subject that I think all of us can read to have a fuller understanding of the significance
used to teach
of
people in secondary schools.
I actually want to begin by appreciating
I'm trying to get
the amount of history that I've learned today from the minds at this table. So I really want to appreciate that, and I hope people at home have an appreciation as well for, this is what we need to be doing on a regular basis. This is what, again, in secondary school needs to be happening so that foundation is built. But now, very quickly, I'm predictable. I'll go straight to South Africa, of course, with the MK, and Friday, is the day that the government will be formed. Parliament will be sitting for the first time, and Jacob Zuma's Mkhonto Sizwe has gone to the Constitutional Court to say that they want to stop that first sitting of Parliament because they say that this election was rigged and that their concerns regarding the irregularities that they can prove happened in this election have not been addressed. So they say that until their concerns have been addressed by the IEC, Parliament has no footing to sit. I mean, in the lead up to that, Parliament has already gone and cancelled the accommodation bookings, flight bookings for Mkhonto Sizwe parliamentarians who are supposed to fly from around South Africa to come to Cape Town for the first sitting of Parliament.
58 seats.
58 seats. And they said they don't want to waste, they said they won't be wasting their parliamentary state funds on people who said they will boycott. Interesting development. But will this will this be a successful attempt to use the courts to stop? It's quite tricky. And then I believe one of the papers, I think it must have been Punch, had an image of the wreckage that carried the vice president of Malawi, may his soul rest in peace, who unfortunately did not survive.
Punch newspaper, if you put it up there.
Who did not survive that crash.
In mentioning names, you see, that's why I say let's not even go into the game of mentioning names. We didn't mention Walter Carrington, the current American ambassador then, that played so much role.
So I believe
Walter Carrington.
So we're going to come back to this conversation. We're going to come back to this conversation. Let's quickly cross over to Abuja, where I believe Wale Edun is currently speaking with Adesola. Chief Wale Edun, excuse me.
You call his social contract with Nigeria, because he said, I pledge, and defined that there's a demarcation between the
efforts immediately is in providing nutrition, particularly to the young ones, in providing food on the table of families, and in making life more affordable. And that is on its way. And of course, it cannot come soon enough. So there is the granaries have been opened up, the reserves have been opened up, food distribution is underway. In addition to that, as we know, we have revamped the direct payments to individuals in order to cover 75 million Nigerians at the end of the day. And that process has integrity, has transparency and visibility, and it's just a question of speeding it up, scaling it up. We know that before it wasn't what it should have been, and it was stopped in the interest of integrity. But now funding is being rolled out that will allow people to take money, go to the market and buy. And at the same time, of course, there is tremendous focus on food production. I think that is the key area to focus on now, because the economy has been changed, has been put on track, but people must feel it, and they must feel it soon. We understand that. And Mr. President is very, very aware of that and committed to that. He's a man of the people. He is from the grassroots.
Thank you very much. And finally, before I let you go, Honorable Minister, thank you for your time. What's the message to Nigerians on a day like this as the Minister of the Economy?
I think the message is that there is hope of better days to come, and in the very, very near future, we are on the right track. We have turned the economy around, and now the benefits are about to be felt by now. That's the commitment, and that's necessary. That is what must happen, and we realize that under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Coordinating Minister of the Economy and Minister of Finance, Wale. Around with me, Omo Bazwaye, the Senate correspondent. He joins me here. I also do have Ferdinand Duoha, who is our security and defense correspondent as well. Omo, happy Independence Day to you. I mean, you just arrived a couple of minutes ago. Tell us, what exactly has it been like getting here?
It's been really very tough getting in here. If you don't have this invitation card I'm holding, there's no way you can make it inside here. I first of all had to go to the old parade ground, and from there did some slight accreditation before we were taken by buses to get to this particular point. So, and even getting from the point of this Eagle Square, you have to go through the rigorous screening by men of the security services. So it was really tough getting in here, but I'm glad to be here and glad to be part of the 25th anniversary of Nigeria's unbroken democracy. That's how they call it. I remember that day very vividly in 1993. With Nigerians going into it with plenty of hope, and aspiration. For the first time, we saw a Muslim ticket, and it didn't cause any force. I mean, it didn't create the kind of clamor that greeted the last particular, elections with a similar Muslim ticket. MKO Abiola won that election. He even won Tofa in his own base in Kano, and that's to tell you how Nigerians were ready and hoping, for that particular change until the truncation by the military at the time. So 25 years down the line, we are seeing a new administration coming in with a renewed hope, referring back to that particular hope of 1993. And so far, I think Nigeria has gone through a lot of challenges in the process, and I hope that our leaders will be picking up those lessons. The followers also will be picking up those lessons. But some people might argue that it's still a few years in the life of a particular country, but I think we should have been better. If not for what has happened, today we'll have been celebrating 31 years of democracy. But so far so good. We are happy to be here today to see what is going on.
Indeed, I spoke to the Minister of the Economy moments ago, but Ferdinand Duoha spoke to the Minister of Budget and National Economy moments ago as well. And Ferdinand, if you could just join us, you spoke to Mr. Atiku Bagudu, who is the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, when the studio was still talking about newspaper reviews. What did he tell you, really?
Well, I think for him, it's a time to celebrate, but then also, in his own words, they are not unaware of the challenges, and what he's saying is the same thing that the president said earlier today. He's calling for some time, he's calling for confidence in what, the plans that they have made and the adjustments that they have made, and he's saying that he believes that life will get better for Nigerians. Now, that's a simple summary, but then you also have to ask when, and looking at the renewed hope mantra, I hope the people do not get to lose hope too soon.
Thank you so much, Ferdinand. I don't know if we can have one more guest join us. If the studio is with us, we talked about the portraits at the Eagle Square here, tagged the world's largest painting portraits on canvas, where I do have to explain to us better what that portrait is about. Please join me. Good morning. Can you introduce yourself?
My name is Ope Olaore.
Great. So, you walked up to me and you told me you were in charge of that portrait. How exactly are you in charge? Did you paint the portrait?
Yes, we 37 of us came together, led by Artifact Gallery. Myself, Opeyemi Olaore, Toyin Jinodu, and Adele Oladipupo assembled 37 to do the world's largest painting portraits on canvas.
And If you could oblige us and tell us who exactly is in that portrait.
Let us keep it suspense until when it is unveiled. But the concept behind it is this. All the time we talk about the government. Yes, we know there's poverty in the land.
Unfortunately, we have to end at this moment because the event has officially kicked off. Thank you.